Oh my God. Push it. Oh, damn it. I didn't push the button. Do 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 do. Burn. Doodle 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 doodle. That's a good a time to push the button as any, right? What's up, everybody? It is Monday, August 12th, 2024. How y'all doing? Are you doing okay? I just need to check in with y'all and make sure that y'all are doing okay. Are y'all doing okay? Is everybody else okay? I don't know if anybody has noticed the title, but we'll get to the title of the stream in a minute. First things first. If you replay Team 6, you have to leave a comment. That's the rule. It's the rule, period. It's number one rule. If you want to hit like buttons, if you want to hit subscribe buttons, if you want to hit Patreon buttons, if you want to hit super chat buttons, whatever, hit all those buttons too if you like. That's totally fine. But just leave a comment. Just tell me about something that enrages you this week. How about that? How about you just tell me about something that's made you grumpy this week, right? Because we can commiserate. Secondly, if you are so inclined, I'm not gifting any memberships this week because I'm not. So gifted memberships are always helpful because it brings people back. Brings people back to the chat that may or may not have looked up like a drywall video or how to fix their microwave video or something. And then YouTube no longer sends them our videos anymore. So that happens. It's good to bring those people back if we want to bring them back. Or we just let them go and it is what it is. Right? We can all recognize that sometimes it is just the way it is, right? Big shout out to Mikey Fishy for being first to the chat, saying can't stay to watch, sadly. Well, we love to see you in the chat, Mikey. We sad to see you go. Maybe you'll be back, or maybe you'll be over on Discord later, and we'll hear from you of all the intrigue that's going on. Witchy Cat's here. Zip Gun is here. Joel G is here. Frank Dominguez. Oh my God, look at this. Frank Dominguez coming in 5th. That is wild. You hate to see it. You hate to see it, folks. Or you love to see it. I don't know. I don't know what you guys like. It's hard to say. Skog Shrimp and Stuff is here. Mark is also going to hit the like button. Reminder. Hit the like button and a fart wizard behind it, which is good. We always like to see the fart wizards on Monday. That's where the fart wizards do their best work. Like button has been hit, though I cannot actually like the subject matter with the cryy face. Yeah. It's been a rough weekend. Who else is here? Alyssa's here. Everybody else is here. Just Bob is here. What's up? Good to see you. Von Lurker, what's up? I don't know who Von Lurker is. Who are you, Von Lurker? Who are you? Give us your full synopsis. Looks like we have some news in the chat about Alyssa making some choices in regards to her fish room. And where was the comment? So now I'm thinking to myself, do I want to do 4 40-gallon tanks or 2 40 gallons and 6 20 gallons? I would say, from my experience, I would do the 4 40 gallons because admittedly, it's only 8 tanks if you do 2 40s and 6 20s. But the weird part there is like you would think it would double the work. You would think like, oh, 4 tanks or 8 tanks. It's just twice the amount of work. I don't believe that to be true when it comes to having too many fish tanks or a lot of fish tanks or however you want to describe it. Too many, a lot. Maybe some people would say not enough. Maybe 100's not enough. I don't know. You would think the difference between 4 tanks and 8 tanks is just like it's 2 to 1. Like it's double the amount of work, but it's not because 1 tank might have ick. And I always say columnus worms wrong. We have to look it up. I always say I'm wrong. Why do I? Camelanus. There we go. Camelanus. We'll call it Camelanus worms from now on, because that's how it's spelled. I don't know. Camelanus. I don't know. I didn't write it out, but that's what it is. Let's say you have worms in 1 tank. You have ick in 1 tank. You have blue-green algae in 1 tank. You have hair algae in 1 tank. You have 1 tank's doing fine. You have 1 tank that's growing too fast. You have 1 tank that's growing too slow. You have another tank where your pH has bottomed out, and you're trying to figure out what's going on with that. Camel anus, not camel annie, not camel annies. No. Camel anus. Camel anus. It's the other side of the camel's toe, right? So you would think like, oh, 4 tanks, 8 tanks. It's just twice the amount of work. It unfortunately is not. It's not the same amount of work. So I think realistically, in my mind, and having had both of those setups in my past, I don't regret setting up a whole bunch of 40-gallon tanks. It would be nice. It would have been nice at certain times to have a rack of 20-gallon aquariums to do specific weird little breeding projects or something like that, or to keep things segregated. Definitely helpful, but definitely not like a required thing to have. I think as anybody that's like on the home fish room front, I think too many projects on the home fish room front are super, super, super dangerous. It ends up leading it to too many camelanuses, right? Yeah, too many camelanus problems. It to me, I think what is ultimately what leads people to be discouraged by the hobby and ends up people getting out of the hobby. Maybe they're still a fan, but they're not going to like be keeping a bunch of tanks anymore. So I think that's where my advice comes from, is like I've seen people with too many tanks and of the impression that, like, you know, 8 tanks is just twice the amount of work as 4 tanks. But I think realistically it's not. I think it multiplies more. It's also possible that me drilling 40-gallon tanks breaks all my 40s. Well, you only want to drill the plate glass ones. Don't drill tempered glass. Don't do that. It explodes. I can verify that. So that's realistically like where I would be at as far as like if you're going to be building a fish room and like considering setting up a bunch of tanks. I think that's where my advice would be, that like too many tanks leads to an overabundance of work. The work starts to spiral, and it becomes extraordinarily discouraging, especially like if you start losing colonies or losing fish or essentially losing interest because of the disasters / taking up too much of your time, right? You know, imagine parts of your life having to be replaced with doing water changes and tank maintenance. Like, but initially, it's great because it's only replacing things you don't really like doing all that much, right? But eventually it starts to replace things that you are really interested or really want to do, and that starts weighing heavy on whether you're wanting to keep a fish room or not. I think that is the reality that I've seen experienced, and I think partially I've experienced that in a way where it's like, man, I finally have a day off. I want to have a day off. Nope. I got to spend all day in the fish room doing water changes, cleaning tanks, checking filters, blah, 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 just doing water tests for water chemistry stuff. And it ends up just being work, right? And there are some days you just don't want to there are some days you just don't want to do anything. Let's be honest. There are some days in our lives where you don't want to do nothing. Like, you just want to chill and be, right? It does happen. So we're a couple minutes into the stream here, so I think it's probably worthwhile to discuss the title. Let's start out. As you guys know, the people that have followed my channel for a long time, I love mountaineering. I love hiking and climbing mountains. I love doing that. There was a point in time where I even strongly considered just packing everything up and leaving the world behind to just go hike and just leave and be like, this is what I'm going to do. We'll see what works out. Right. I love being out in the woods. You guys know I love building stuff. You guys know I love doing those things. Since having had a child, the number of days spent being able to do that has extraordinarily diminished. It drops. It's been dropping every year. We had a baby basically during COVID. Well, I think she was 1 when COVID started or whatever. We basically had a little kid. COVID came, screwed all of our schedules, screwed over daycare. The trials and tribulations of going through all of that with a small child, and like the inconsistencies of trying to be able to work, but we can't go to work because our child is at home, because the daycares are closed, because there's a pandemic, and there was no options. Things that we really like to do, like mountaineering and whatnot, start to fall off the table because you're sort of scrambling to make the weeks make sense as time goes by. Eventually working our way out of the pandemic, our daughter, who is a wonderful person, she's amazing, I love her very much, she was 3, right? It's very difficult to take a child up deep into the mountains hiking when they're 3. Yes, you can carry them. I understand that. I have seen plenty of people do that. I get it. But normally the people that you see doing that are the kind of people who work a desk job and like run marathons on the weekend or whatever because they're just so hyped up about working out or whatnot. I don't understand it. And I think it has more to do with me being a blue-collar guy, that I spend a lot of my energy throughout the week building things and doing projects, especially for other people, especially working for customers or companies that I've worked for. It became incredibly difficult to sort of schedule these hiking trips and or like go places that it would be safe to take a 3-year-old, right? Like, we could take her on a hike somewhere, but it's like, I'm not taking her up to the peak, right? I'm not taking her up to the peak of a mountain that, I don't know if you've ever been up to the top of a mountain before, but there are no guardrails up there, okay? Like, There's no Disney. There's no Disney stuff going on up at the top. Your kid could just fall off the mountain and then be like a weird headline. Okay, so I failed to mention in that timeline that Victoria came down with breast cancer, and I don't know the type of it off the top of my head, but whatever. We went through the treatment and dealt with that. And so, like, there were a number of things that were impinging or impugning or whatever on our ability to do these hiking trips, to do these backcountry camping trips. I haven't been on a hunting trip in a really long time. Although nowadays, you don't really have to hunt cow. They're just over there, right? Or pigs. They're just over there. Or chickens. They're just over there. So, we went through a lot of stuff, but one of the things that ended up paying the price was mountaineering. And you guys know that we go camping. We take our trailer. We have a camper trailer that we bought off of my cousin. And we take that out camping, and we go to the other property that is owned by Vicky's family, and we do projects there. And we do camping in that tradition, but it's not, carrying your tent, carrying all your supplies in your backpack, going up into an area where no one has ever camped to the extent of your knowledge, finding a spot, setting up camp, exploring an area for a couple of days that you otherwise would, even if you were just hiking, you would have just hiked past it. And I think like that's one of the big draws for me as far as like mountaineering or just whatever you want to call it, backpacking or backcountry camping or something like that. That the objective is that you go and find an area that ends up being, well, I think this is the baby of last week's fly. I never found the jumbo fly, but now there's a tiny baby fly in here. And it's going to come land right on my hand or on the microphone during a live stream. I don't know. There's a million places it could go. Anyhow. So, like, that to me is the big advantage of being able to go out and do backcountry camping and stuff like that, is that you are able to go to an area, you're able to be there and really sort of experience like what that area is for a couple days, like a little hiking around and figuring out this little lake, and these deer come down at 5 a.m. So if you're up early enough, you'll see all the deer or elk or whatever come through and go get a drink of water and get watered up for the day or whatever. That kind of stuff is it's really interesting to me to be able to like experience an area, right? Like, and especially an area that's like being untouched by human involvement, right? And that has pretty much fallen by the wayside for the multitude of reasons that I mentioned before. But we, as a couple, Vicky and I, made a concerted effort to say, okay, Olivia's 5.5 now. She's going to be 6 in November. She's starting to get strong enough as a human that she can carry her own little backpack. She can understand what's going on. She can walk pretty good. That like, okay, let's see if this is something that Olivia likes and we'll be able to take her onto these treks, especially as she grows. She's going to grow and get stronger, and her legs will get longer. She'll be able to carry more weight. Eventually, she can be our pack animal. I'm just kidding on that, but maybe not. Maybe I'm not kidding. Maybe she'll become our llama. Maybe we'll get an alpaca. I don't know. But so that was our plan. Our plan was like, okay, this year, it seems like the right year. Let's book a little trip that is that's 2 nights. The hike is like a mile from where you park. So that's not far. That's not far at all. I mean, I could carry I could carry Olivia a mile if needed. If something had happened and I had to carry Olivia, I don't think I could carry Vicky a mile. I would have to enlist more help. But I could carry Olivia a mile, not a problem, through the woods. So we were like, okay, this checks all the boxes. So we decided, hey, let's book and get our permit for going to La Push, Washington. Now, if anybody's familiar with La Push, Washington, it is it's very popular on Instagram or photography sites or whatever because it is amazingly beautiful. But it is in the front of a rainforest. So the days and dates and times and whatnot where it is really beautiful out there are fairly limited by the fact that it is socked in with fog and it rains all year round. Like, August is the driest month for La Push, and they still get 3 3/4 inches of rain. Right? Which I don't know how many millimeters that is. Hold on. 3.75 inches to... So they still get close to 100 millimeters of rain in August, and that is by far the driest month out of the year. So we planned for that trip. So this last weekend, we said, all right, our schedule's kind of crazy. We could try to leave on Friday evening, but we're going to get there when it's dark. That's going to be pretty rough. We need to take a ferry ride there. I don't know. It's a little bit kind of crazy. We don't want to drive all the way around. All right, we'll just get up early Saturday. We'll go the whole day Saturday. We'll camp Saturday night. We'll come back Sunday. Okay? Instead of leaving Friday, camping a night, staying a day, camping a night, and then leaving on Sunday. Does that make sense? Technically, our permit was for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, so we had 3 nights that we could have moved our schedule around if we needed to. Von Lurker's asking, what kind of permit do you need? So there are certain areas of the world, right, of the United States, depending on where you're at, if you're going to backcountry camp, they want you to have a permit. And it's so that they could limit's not the right word, but they want to restrict the amount of traffic, undue traffic of people with a permanent camping, because there's just only so much space, and there's only so much that the Forest Service can do to clean up. And I'll get to why that's important soon. Anyhow, we booked those days. We left on Saturday. We left our house with a projected of 85 degrees and sunny here. And we drove, about 5 hours, took a ferry boat ride. It was a long drive, but we got out there, we got parked, we hiked down, and it was 57 degrees, insanely foggy, and then this light mist of rain that fell the entire time that we were there. The fog kind of blew in and out, but you never really saw very far, like most of the pictures I took and stuff. And I did make a short video that I was going to edit yesterday, but we came home to a tragic situation, which we'll get to. So we got down there. It was raining. It was extraordinarily crowded. There were tons of people. Every little nook and cranny had a little tent there. Had some people pitched up. There were a ton of people. I don't know when La Push got so popular, but La Push got insanely popular. And I think, talking with Vicky, I think it has everything to do with Instagram, TikTok, social media writ large. People are like, oh my God, I want to go there. It's going to be so beautiful. Because I saw tons and tons of people with really big professional cameras, really big long lenses, tripods, that were like, I'm here to take pictures of the amazing stuff that's going on. And I don't know what pictures they took, but I could say a lot of them were walking around with just sort of a mildly miserable look on their face of like, wait, is this what it's going to be like? La Push has 3 beaches: first beach, second beach, third beach, all wildly creative names. And then the Quillicete, I think, is the casino or the tribe that's there. It's right near. It's right near a native reservation. And Recap Harris says the Twilight movies have made La Push popular too. Yeah, but I mean, it's been so far removed. I can't imagine people are going out there for Twilight still. The only thing that you really see for that was in, what's the stupid city out there? I can't remember the name of the dumb city. Hold on. Twilight City. I can't remember the name of it. Forks. I was thinking of a different town, but yeah, Forks. When you drive through Forks, it's like, don't go, or no vampires beyond this point. Yeah. So extraordinarily busy. Lots and lots of people there. Cold. I mean, not freezing cold, but it was cold, especially compared to home where it was like 85 and sunny. So mid-50s. Misty rain that just never stops, so you eventually get soaked even though you don't realize it's raining. So we found a campsite, but a lot of the campsites I hiked up and down Second Beach, went up all around. A lot of the campsites have used toilet paper at them. It's pretty clear that a contingent of sort of young people have been coming and staying and leaving beer cans and garbage around, and burn pits. Fire pits right next to, clearly somebody had used the bathroom right here kind of situation. So as far as like the regulations go, you're supposed to dig a hole 8 inches plus, bury your waste. You pack it in, you pack it out, blah, 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 blah. I think most avid people understand that. But like I said, with this being such a short hike, there were a lot of people like just coming down to just come down for the day, cart a bunch of stuff down, have a kind of barbecue atmosphere, have a campfire, drink some beers, do whatever, which, it's totally fine. Just just take your garbage with you is all I care. That's all I care about. But a lot of the campsites were heavily used. There are pit toilets there. If you're familiar with what a pit toilet is, you dig a big hole. You put a toilet over the pit, and people defecate into the pit. The pit toilets were very full, overly full. And I talked to 2 of the rangers, and they said, "Hey, don't count on using the pit toilets at all." They said they're pretty full, pretty bad, and they're like, it's been very, very busy this year. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if it's a TikTok thing, Instagram, whatever. But they said it's been very, very busy this year. The pit toilets are pretty full, which I can verify. They were pretty full. The thing that having a pit toilet or a kind of a more conventional outhouse type toilet is useful when you have a 5-year-old that decides to not poop on the ferry, to not poop at one of the places that we stopped to get something to eat, and to also not poop at the trailhead where there's a nice bathroom up where vehicles can access. Right. Refused to do that at all 3 of those locations, and then demanded once we were down in camp that Daddy, I have to go poop. You have to take me to the toilet so I can go poop. Okay, so we did. It was very busy down there, but nothing that was like standout busy. Like there wasn't anything that was like, oh my God, who are these crazy people? Who are those crazy people? Nothing like that. Just a lot of people, which is totally fine. Everybody was chilling. Everybody was being cool. There was no standout assholes, I guess would be the easy way to put it. There was just a lot of people there, which is fine when people are getting along. Von Lurker says, so I guess permits don't do their job. They do. They generally do, realistically. Because what ends up happening is those park rangers that were there, they go around checking for people's permits. If you don't have a permit, I don't know how much the fine is, but I do know that the fine is going to cover some of the cleanup fees. I'm going to look it up because I didn't even look it up. Yeah. So the permit fee breakdown exists online here, and I have to find it. Oh, it's the Quinault tribe. Sorry, I had the name wrong tribe. Where's the fee schedule? I think it's like $6 or something. Oh, okay. Yeah, here you go. So for the following wilderness camp areas, overnight use limits are in effect to help minimize human impacts and provide quality wilderness experience. These limitations are reflected in the availability of groups and backpackers listed on recreation.gov website. 100% of the quota may be reserved in advance for Ozette Coast, Royal Basin, Royal Lake, Lake Constance, Upper Lena Lake, Flapjack Lakes, Grand and Badger Valleys, the Solduck, Seven Lakes Basin, Mink Lake area, the Haw Lake and CB Flats, and the Haw River Trail. The Haw River is a rainforest right there. So, new in 2024, the East Fork Quinault River Trail and Enchanted Valley will be managed as quota areas on a trial basis. For the duration of the trial, which will last up to 3 years, there will be a maximum of 208 users or 30 permits per night, whichever is reached first. Public comments will be collected May 15th through October 15th throughout the trial. Comments will inform the final decision about the management change. So a big part of this has to do with, like, there's federal land there, there's state land there, and there's reservation land there. First and foremost, you always have to remember that reservation land is technically another country. It's its own country. It's not part of the United States. So if you are on reservation land, you better obey to what the reservation rules and regulations are, because you could be fined and or penalized and or arrested by the tribal police that are there. And federal police and state police, unless they have an agreement to operate within reservation lands, they're not going to be there to help you. The reservation can ask for help from those, like the police or state patrol or whatever. They can ask, hey, we need more police. There's a problem. They have agreements to call them in or whatever. But so in the fact of that, all of those implications right there, that like federal land, you can go camp on it whenever you want. You can stay in one spot for this is the last of my knowledge. You can stay in one place for up to 2 weeks on federal land. I believe state land requires a permit. So it all really kind of just depends on where you're going. So So these are the national parks areas are the ones that I read off. The La Push area is who does La Push? I forget who does La Push. Second Beach. La Push Second Beach. Meet. Okay. So, Second Beach is 4 miles round trip. I didn't feel that vibe at all. But either way. Let me check. Yeah, parking pass, entry fee. There's no parking pass or entry fee to go. But you want to have a camp permit that is who is the camp permit? I don't want to say the wrong. Where is the permit? I mean, I know we had our permit. I printed it out. Where did Huh? Oh my god. Do. Where is the camp permit? Hold on. Let me make sure. So I know a couple of people got in trouble while we were there. They didn't leave though. So permit cost. As of November 2023, the permit fee is $8 per person per night, plus a $6 permit fee, which really just isn't that much money. So to camp at Second Beach and Olympic National Park in La Push, Washington, you need a wilderness backpacking permit. How to get a permit? You can book a permit online through recreation.gov by calling the Port Angeles Wilderness Information Center or going in person somewhere. I don't know. I wouldn't go in person anywhere. I don't know where we got the permit. Oh, here we go. Because I'm trying to remember like who manages that area. And there was a breakdown, but I don't know where the fucking breakdown went. I don't know. Either way, whatever. We got to move on. This is the part of the show where I just sit here and fucking look up shit and ramble on about nothing. Okay. Yeah, Just Bob has a really good point there, and we'll get to that. Anyhow, I don't mind paying the permits to the certain areas that I gotta go to. I forget who we paid to, if it was Washington State or if it was national, federal, whatever. I don't care. I don't mind paying the fees because the areas get used. There's a lot of people there, a lot of people going in and out. The area's got to get managed. Building the parking area is not free. Maintaining the trails isn't free. Maintaining cleanup, maintaining pit toilets, none of that shit is free. To hope that you could only get volunteers to come do that stuff. I've done it a few times myself, not at La Push. I did it Mount Rainier a couple years. Just counting on volunteers is going to just lead to a failure. Like our country is not designed to allow volunteers to just go do stuff. People's time is far too valuable. Our money is constantly being extracted by giant corporations at every intersection of our life. So volunteering to go do stuff is generally not happening very often in our society, which is why I always argue with Republicans that they're like, we should just let charitable people do the charity stuff, and I'm like, what person has time to do that now? Like maybe there's a guy in Missouri somewhere that has all this spare time or whatever. I don't know modern day people in the year 2024 that have a ton of time to volunteer, to like go do work. You know, I guess our former president, Jimmy Carter, seemed to have a lot of time to donate to that, which is great. Just so I guess elect me president, and then I'll start building houses after I get out of office. I don't know. Anyhow, relying on volunteers is fucking stupid. People's labor should be paid for if they're going to go and clean up stuff, and people should be contributing to it by buying things like permits, buying your wilderness pass. You know, the forest rangers don't work for free. They got to get paid. Firefighters got to show up to fight fires. They got to get paid. Yeah. So anyhow, I don't care about the fees. The fees do work. The permits do their job to a point where, you know, even the short trail that we were on, there's 2 bridges, a bunch of switchbacks, steps that need to be maintained, AKA people need to like carry lumber down there, straighten out the step, you know, pound stakes in to get the step to maintain through the forest, in a rainforest, by the way. The pit toilets need to be moved, which means that they have to dig a new pit and move the outhouse to the next pit. You know, all that stuff needs to be done. There were 3 or 4 different trees that had fallen over the trail that had been chainsawed as to allow people to pass. You know, all that kind of stuff needs to get done. And in order for those things to exist, it's very difficult to just hope that volunteers are going to show up with a Husqvarna whatever with the 36-inch bar on it ready to do some logging in order so that hikers can, you know, hike down a trail. Just hoping that people volunteer for that is probably not going to happen. Anyhow, while we were there, it rained the entire time. It was miserable. It was cold. We were making as light of it as much as we could. One of our faults is that we underestimated the size of tent required. So I have a backpacking tent that is very, very lightweight. It's a Big Agnes. I got it as a gift. It is an amazing tent. Big Agnes is fucking badass. Big Agnes, please send me a bigger tent. Big Agnes, please sponsor the next backpacking trip. I know that they're not watching, but you know what I mean. Amazing tent. We sort of underestimated the size of tent that we needed for the trek. The fact that the only spot that we could get was literally on the beach in sand. I should have brought bigger stakes with me. Some sand stakes. I just had regular dirt stakes. I should have had some sand stakes with me, but that's my fault. And underestimating the size of tent that we needed. The tent is big enough for Vicky and myself. The tent is not big enough for Vicky, myself, and include Olivia. It is not possible for that to make sense. Partially because of the child's attitude towards the world. Taking up way too much space, not exactly being a team player at times, getting extremely tired, cold, tired, wet, grumpy. Maybe she had a little extra sugar because we found a spot that had cotton candy earlier. You know, so the tent was not big enough. So that created a real drama when it came time to go to bed. A real issue with Saturday night was there were really bright northern lights shining above the fog that we were fogged in with the rain that kept coming down. It was constantly foggy and it kept raining the whole time. And, you know, that's fine. That's what rainforests are supposed to do. But it would have been cool to experience the northern lights without us having to go all the way to Alaska. Even when we're in Alaska, it doesn't mean the northern lights are just going to be there because we're there. And to this day, Vicky has never seen the northern lights. I've seen them a bunch of times, but she still hasn't. And Saturday night would have been a perfect time for her to see them if it wasn't for fog. We probably could have driven 50 miles in either direction and seen some amazing northern lights. But we were pot committed. We were 100% pot committed to camping on the beach. So around 9:30 at night, the chaos was breaking loose in the tent. People were getting bad attitudes, namely people that were 5 years old and should have been asleep for like an hour and a half already. There was a lot of problems, a lot of arguing. There was people, bad attitudes. Bad attitudes were happening. People were trying to figure out like what to do about their bad attitude and whatnot. And Victoria herself basically just said, all right, I'm not sleeping in the tent. Dad and Olivia, you guys stay in here. I'm going to sleep on the beach in my sleeping bag. I said, that's crazy. Don't do that. She was very adamant that that's what she was going to do. So she went outside the tent, pitched her sleeping bag out there, and decided she was going to sleep under the stars, which I will reiterate once again. There were no stars because rain and fog were falling from the sky. And I will say this, the fog was so thick, it was falling from the sky. That's how thick it was. Soupy. Pea soup, man. Piss soup is what I always thought people were talking about when they said pea soup when I was a kid. Anyhow, it was so she went outside, and I said, well, all right, screw it. She's an adult. She's making her decision. And she claims I slept outside in a sleeping bag all the time growing up, and I'm doing it now. I said, okay, fine. I'm not arguing with anybody about what's going on here. Olivia continued to kind of go wild, and I will admit wholeheartedly I lost my temper and shouted at her, and I don't like that at all. But I shouted at her, she got quiet, and then eventually fell asleep. So cue the next part of the story where I am awakened at around 4 in the morning when Vicky has completely, the entirety of her sleeping bag has completely gotten soaked all the way through. She is soaking wet and freezing cold. So I get woken up to a spouse who is wet and freezing cold, which is not exactly what you want to be woken up. I mean, it's like 50% what you want to be woken up to. You want to be woken up to the wet and warm spouse, but I was woken up to the wet and shivering cold spouse. Not exactly what you're looking for, right? Anyhow, so she climbed in. I did my best to warm her up. Sacrificed my sleeping bag for her. Got her warm. She's okay. Didn't catch pneumonia. Didn't die. We're all right. Woke up the next day. There's fucking sand everywhere. Everything is fucking sopping wet. The tent was too small. Agreed. The rain leaf, whatever you want to call that, did keep our packs dry, so all of our packs were dry and everything. So it wasn't too bad, but basically putting away sopping wet equipment coated in sand is a fucking nightmare. I hate it. I just was like, I just want to leave. I don't want to be here. And I was like, if this was ancient times, if this was 1,000 years ago, and we were tribal members, and we were here living off the land and whatnot, and I was Vicky's spouse, I would have said to her, hey, the weather sucks here. We're not going to stay here. We're going to take our legs and we're going to walk to where the weather doesn't suck balls, I think is how I would have said it. And she would have been like, I agree, because we are both intelligent natives. Let's get out of here. And they would have skedaddled. We would have scrammed out of there. And then gone not that far away where it was 80 degrees and not raining. So anyhow, we packed everything up, went around to a bunch of the tide pools because the low tide had gone out, climbed up to the, up to our, we climbed the hill up to where we had parked, which it said it was a mile. The TripAdvisor thing there said it was 4 miles. I don't know, whatever. If it's a mile, if it's 2 miles, I don't, who cares? But of course, have to carry Olivia's backpack because she's complaining, and cold and wet. Well, although I wouldn't say she was really all that cold, but just kind of over it situation. And so we get all the way up to the parking lot, and I'm just like, I just want to get out of here. Like, I just want to go. That's all I want to do. So I'm not really paying attention. I set my pack up on the tailgate, and go get the truck started and just getting stuff into the truck and doing whatever. And I went to go pick up my pack, and my hand slipped off of the wetness, and I hit myself, and my mouth was open like an idiot. I was like, I don't know. And my bottom teeth chipped the shit out of this tooth right here, and that tooth a little bit. So I have a dental appointment later this week where they're going to grind that tooth down, because I've done this previously and I've seen what they do. They grind it down flat, so it's not all jaggedy and whatnot. That's all they do. You just end up having a shorter tooth. So we're going to get a tooth shortening again. Hopefully they have a good 90 degree to be able to measure and make a good 90 on my tooth. So we have that to look forward to. But I really, like, at that point, I was like, I just had gone to Vicky. I was like, this is a fucking nightmare. And I told her, I was like, I'm so glad that you set this up. You did a great job organizing everything that you wanted to go do, like go to La Push. I'm happy that we went. I'm also like ecstatic that we are getting the fuck out of here. I just wanted to leave with my fucking chipped tooth, and really not having slept all that well, getting woken up to a frozen person at 4 a.m. We'll do that to you. It just was one of those things. Like, it was just a crappy camping trip. On our way back, usual long drive. It does take like 4.5 hours to get from where we live out to the coast up there where it's at. Mainly, a lot of it has to do with just a non-direct route, right? And you have to take a ferry. And I don't know if you've ever taken a ferry before, but you are at the whim. You are at the whim of the ferry system, whether or not you'll get onto the boat or not, or when it's going to happen, or when you showed up in line just happens to be convenient or not convenient, right? So we did miss the 2 boats coming back. We're pretty tired by that point. Rode the ferry, drove up, and Vicky had said, Olivia had a balloon that she got from Red Robin, and she was inflating it and deflating it and inflating it and deflating it, and popped it. It exploded in the back seat, which was crazy. Luckily, I didn't swerve around on the freeway with what essentially sounded like a gun going off in the car, unexpectedly. And so Vicky was like, just trying to go, how do I resolve this situation? Hey, why don't we just drive up to Red Robin? We'll get a quick dinner. We'll go home. We'll unload all this stuff. So we drove up to Red Robin. By the time we got there, I was like, I don't want to eat this food. And Vicky was like, I don't want to eat Red Robin food. And Olivia said, I don't want to eat Red Robin food either. So we just didn't go get dinner. So we turned around and we drove home. We came home and basically like opened up the garage, started unloading stuff out of the garage, started putting stuff into the house, and everything seemed fine. It did smell a little odd in the house, but we had dog sitters here, and you know how it is sometimes when people are staying at your house, maybe it just smells a little bit funny or whatever. I had to go to the bathroom really bad. I had to go number 2. I had to drop a 2. A lot of driving, and I had to go poop. So I went in the bathroom. I was like, all right, I'm gonna check out Instagram or whatever. I was in there, and I heard some blood curdling screams from the other side of the kitchen, and so our dog sitter, who is actually Vicky's mom, had left yesterday morning. We had left Saturday morning, and Biddy is an old dog. She was 14 years old, but she had been doing well. She was hopping around. Very happy acting dog. I don't know if you've seen how dogs act happy. Hop around. They're kind of attentive. Kind of run around a little bit. Very happy. That's exactly how she's been acting. She didn't see very well anymore. She could kind of see shapes. Like if it was bright, she could identify people. Her hearing wasn't all that great anymore, but she never really paid attention all that well when she could hear. But she was really hopping around, and she seemed to be doing okay. She was sleeping a lot, which old dogs do. She was really getting around, and that was Saturday morning. And it sounds like the trials and tribulations of the weekend were a really long time, but it was Saturday morning to Sunday afternoon, maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock, and Biddy was fine on Saturday, and so between the time that Vicky's mom left at 10 in the morning or something, by the time we got home at 6 o'clock, something catastrophic happened, and Biddy Bronwyn Brown was dead on the floor, and all the evidence of animal dying. I don't know if you've ever been around a human dying or an animal dying, but they have a tendency to defecate quite a bit and vomit and whatnot. As far as what Biddy died from or whatever, I mean, I think a lot of it just has to do with old age. I mean, she was a 14-year-old dog, but I just flabbergasting. It's just flabbergasting to me that like we were gone for this relatively like short period of time, and that's when she passed away, and we weren't here when it happened, and that's what hurts a lot. Honestly, is that the poor dog was by herself with the other dogs. But the other dogs can't do anything. She was all by herself, and she was flopped out on the ground, and in a very obvious like I'm not alive anymore position, and it's pretty traumatic for a dog that has been around as long as she has. I mean, Vicky raised Biddy when I think she got her when she was like 5 weeks old. Vicky and I haven't been together for 10 years yet, but we are assuredly coming up on that date fairly soon. And for the entirety of our relationship, I've been hanging out with Biddy, the brown dog, and so I love that dog a lot. I've spent a lot of time with that dog. Spent 10 years with that dog, taking that dog out, taking care of that dog, feeding that dog, snuggling with that dog. That dog didn't even play fetch. And spent a lot of time crying about it yesterday. And I spent a lot of time crying about it this morning. Took her to the vet so she could get cremated. And we'll be able to put her right next to Mr. Chips. And the list is continually getting longer, right? Of the animals that are going to be added to the shelf. The chickens. Oh, yeah. Booger's up there on the shelf, too. The chicken. The matriarch. The matriarchal giant white angry old chicken. And, yeah, I mean, it's really sad. I mean, our little family lost a part of our family. Vicky has lost a very important foundation of her sanity. You know, she got Biddy at a time when essentially she was all alone, and you know, Biddy came with her to all of the stuff for a long, long time, for years, until yours truly came along. I guess that's the way to put it. That's weird to say, but you know, but Biddy came with us on a lot of rafting adventures, a lot of camping adventures. You know, this last 2 years or last year, we stopped taking her on trips because we thought it was getting to be pretty hard on her. You know, she'd get kind of panicky riding in the car for a long time, which she got that when she was little, but normally you could take her out and run her around at a truck stop or whatever, a rest area, and she would generally like calm back down, and then you could get her back in the truck and she wouldn't be having such panic attacks. But a lovely dog that I spent at least 9 years with. Let's call it 10 just for a square number, but you know, and definitely an important part of our family. I mean, to be honest with you, until we had Olivia, I would say that Biddy had a lot of the attributes of like seeming like Vicky's kid, you know. She treated Biddy like you know, like her own child, basically. You know, Biddy sleep up in the bed. Biddy got really taken care of, and a great little little Chihuahua wiener dog, and we loved her a lot, and it was very sad. And I did the thing again. I did it again. I keep expecting them to wake up. I don't know why. I don't know why my head does that. My head does that where I just go like, just wake up, you know? Like I expect them to just perk up from death. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I have that expectation that they're just going to pop their head up, and, you know, when you just kind of look in their eyes and you know that they're not alive anymore, but you are like, just wake up, you know? Are you asleep? And for some reason my head goes there. And that's probably a human thing. It's probably not all that unique, but I did it again. Oh my God, has that microphone been unplugged this whole time? And so it's been a weird night. Obviously nobody slept all that well last night. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about it, but it's really sad. And so it's been a weird couple of days. I mean, like an insanely stressful weekend with the camping and the ferry boat rides and the bullshit and the raining and everything, and it just culminated in a coming home of, you know, I'm probably gonna remember the sound of Vicky, Vicky sounding like she's getting stabbed in the heart, like in a movie, you know. So, I don't know. It's been rough, and then, of course, explaining everything to Olivia again. I swear this child's like a 5-year-old, you know. Like she just doesn't get it, you know. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing. Kyle says it's okay to cry. Yeah, hey man, it is totally okay to cry. Like I said, I cried last night and I cried this morning, and I cried a lot this morning, and I said my goodbyes, and like I said, we took her to the vet to get cremated, and I carried her in there and said goodbye again. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I cried a lot already. I think I'm kind of, chilled out from that for a while. I'm sure I'll probably cry again tomorrow or whatever. But I'm gonna miss that dog, and it is really sad. Like it is. It is always kind of cringe when people are like, "It's my family member," and it is, but also like, we're their stewards, right? Like we're not their parents, we're not their, they're not biologically attached to us. We're like their stewards. They're not gonna live longer than us. We know that. Like we're smart enough to know that as humans, right? So that's the reason why I would say we're more like stewards. They're not expected to outlive us. We know that we're going to live longer than they are, unless some catastrophe happens, catastrophic. So we're more like their stewards. We're there to take care of them. They come with us. They're our companions. I mean, I always think it's kind of weird to say that they're like a family member. It's just sort of kind of cringy, right? Like, I don't know if somebody has figured out a better way to explain it. Because the reason I say is like they're not like a family member, because your kids, you're expected to die before they are. Your kids are supposed to outlive you. Like that's sort of how family works, is that you have elders and then you have that people that are around your same age, and then you have your kids, right? That the elders are going to pass away before you do. The people around your age are going to live to something around the same age as you, and your kids, all of your kids are going to outlive you, right? Like that's the expectation, which is why I think it's kind of distinct, like that family dynamic to me, when I say that word, is very like distinct and definitional, right? Like there is a definition of it in my mind. So that's why I always kind of feel like it's a little bit cringy, but it's really sad to see Biddy go. And it's really sad that she went out the way that she went out, right? Like we were gone not long. She wasn't showing signs that like Sunday was going to be the day. Typically dogs start doing stuff where they start kind of moping around. They lay around a bunch. They just, they kind of stop doing most things, and you kind of know when it's time. And Biddy hadn't reached that. She didn't have that. Like I said, the day before, Saturday morning, hopping around, and looking for snacks, looking for cookies, doing all the dog stuff. So it is really sad. They are our friends, and I think for many of us who make our friends our family, for whatever reason, it changes a bit. Yeah, I mean, I understand that. But I also, I'm just saying how this, in my mind, right? Like, I'm not saying I'm correct. I'm just saying, like, my interpretation, right? That the family part is sort of definitional, right? Like, there is a definition to that. And, like, with my friend John, right? Like, I would call him family, right? But he was of an older generation. Now, he did die pretty young. I think he was 67 when he died, which is pretty young. 67 or 66. I'm not 100% sure, but I met John when he was 50. I think he was 50. And I knew him for a long time. And I would say that, like, John was kind of like my family. He's like my family member, but he was an elder family member in the fact that he had a lot more gray hair, and he wasn't svelte like me. He wasn't svelte and youthful. He wasn't filled with youthful vigor like I was. I miss John every day, and I get reminded of John on a regular basis. I was very close with him. He was a very good friend of mine. The only person I really have left to talk with is his fucking crazy right-wing wacko, insane religious zealot, psychotic, used boat salesman brother, who constantly fucking talks shit on Facebook because he's a boomer. He's an old ass boomer, and yeah, and I think the only reason I keep that guy around as a friend is just for the sake that he was John's brother, and like, I can know that like I can just give John's brother like a whole rash of shit, and and I always cracked up John when he was alive, so I feel like to keep that alive, to not allow his brother to have just a moment of peace, with his weird Jesus ramblings and shit, is important, but like, like I said, John was like an older part of the family, and even though he passed away, I always kind of went like, yeah, I mean, he's 20 years older than me, right? So there is that aspect of it, right? And we all kind of go through that, whereas like John was a lot more like my family than a lot of my family has ever acted. Yeah. Hey, Joel and everyone. Sorry to hear about your loss. Take extra care of your daughter. She probably needs some extra hugs and love right now. Yeah, I mean, the hard thing is trying to explain to a 5-year-old that, like, we're going to... I mean, the hard way to explain it is that we're going to burn the dog. The dog's going to be cremated so that we can keep her ashes, so that we can have a Biddy with us, remembrance of Biddy. I had to explain to Olivia that, like, we can't keep Olivia's body now that she's dead, or keep Biddy's. I had to explain to Olivia that we couldn't keep Biddy's body because she's dead and she'll rot and it will smell bad, and then the bacteria and the fact that we could get sick and blah blah blah. I tried to explain that stuff to Olivia, but she's 5, and I even used the pit toilet because she smelled how bad the pit toilets were. That I was like, you understand that bad smell? Do you want that bad smell in here, in your house, where you live? Yeah. And she said no. Back on the camping comments up here, Aubrey says, I'm planning a camping fishing trip for next week. I'm staying at very accessible campgrounds with facilities. No permits here, but you do have to make reservations and pay a $20 fee. Yeah, so like campsites, you normally have to pay a camp fee at the camp. And more often than not, that payment goes towards managing a camp, right? So keeping the campsites clean, keeping the bathrooms clean, the driveways, the walkways, all of that stuff, which, we do the same thing more often than not because we take our camper out and go camping, and then we pay fees for the campgrounds. So in the backcountry, you're basically paying for a permit for the existing of some form of oversight, essentially, right? Is that like, oh, if you didn't pay for a permit, chances are you're probably somebody, if you didn't get a permit, you're probably somebody who's going to leave a bunch of trash. You're not going to pay attention to your fire pit. You're probably going to take a shit in a trail or a path or something crazy. Any number of those things need to be managed. Also, backcountry rescue, backcountry firefighting services is not free. The national parks don't really fight the fires until they start to infringe on roadways or buildings that are important for one reason or another. If they're a building that's unimportant, they let it burn. But the national parks don't interfere with the forest itself and the fact that like the forest is on fire. They're like, oh, the forest is on fire. That's part of nature, so it's got to naturally burn. They don't normally like jump in there and start fighting it until it starts affecting humans or, like I said, roadways or whatnot. So those fees are all going towards stuff like that, right? And the permits are definitely doing that. Fees are normally going towards the campground. If the campground has a host, More often than not, like the campground hosts get to camp for free. They get to stay there, and they essentially are there for like the open months. So that normally the hosts are committed from like, some point in time in April, maybe early May, maybe even earlier than that. And then they stay till generally after Labor Day, September, October, depending on how late the campgrounds is open. They're generally there the whole time. They don't work the whole time, but they're there and available all the time. They don't get paid a lot of money because they're getting all their camping for free, right? Like if they have an RV park there or a camper trailer, they don't have to pay fees on their site. They don't have to pay for their electricity, their water, all that stuff. So they do get paid something, but it's not a ton of money. So if anybody's thinking a get-rich plan, it certainly isn't. But it's a good retirement plan if that's something that you think you could do. That is a wonderful retirement plan. If you can get on at 3 different campgrounds a year, you're going to have to drive south where it's warmer. But if you could get on that, that's a good gig that you get all your fees paid for, and you still make a little bit of money. And speaking of my buddy John earlier, that's what he did in his the few years he got to be retired. That's what him and his wife did, was cruise around and be camp hosts. So he called it beer money is how much they paid. He's like, that's enough money for beer, Von Lurker says, Joel, what is the brand name of your tent? It's called a Big Agnes. This is the best. They're the best backcountry. I'll type it out here. Oh, let me find one for you. I'll find a link for Big Agnes tents on Amazon because we are an affiliate. So we want the backcountry tent. Where's the backcountry tent that I have? I can actually see if I can find the model. Big Agnes makes a whole bunch of different camp gear. And the Big Agnes might not be the best brand for every single thing, but their tents are fucking awesome. They are so fucking rad. And one of the biggest things that makes them awesome is... So this one right here is not an exact... No, that's not the exact one. We want this tent right here. No, that's not it. Hold on. I'm going to find it. There's got to be a newer version of it because mine is a few years old. And mine was gifted to me. Oh, my God. They don't have it. I don't see it on here. But the great thing about the Big Agnes tents is they're so fucking easy to set up. They're so easy to set up. It's unbelievable. You will shit your pants like how easy these are to put up. Oh, yeah, here we go. This is a badass tent right here. And I honestly should have this tent. But I have a smaller version of this tent. Where the fuck did my chat go? Oh, my God. Okay, there it is. Sorry, guys. A lot of swears for Amazon links being posted. But that's a badass tent, for sure. But the Big Agnes ones are super lightweight. So that's a great portion. They're super lightweight, but they're so easy to set up. It's unbelievable. Now, if I was to say, if you're going to get like one of their deluxe tents, it's this one. Bear in mind that is a 3-season tent, and I understand that it's $250, but like if you were going to get a North Face tent or something like that, it's going to be a lot more. Hold on, let's see. And realistically, what most people need is a 3-season tent, which means spring, summer, fall. You probably don't need a winter camping tent. You're probably not going to camp where there's a ton of snow. So I would never worry about that. North face. Whoop. We'll see if we can find a north face equivalent. Oh, okay, never mind. I guess North Face tents have come down in price because this one's $280, but I can't guarantee it's easy to set up. And this one's much heavier. This one's 10 pounds, whereas the Big Agnes was 5.5 pounds. That's a big difference in your backpack. I'll tell you that. Yeah, this one right here is probably the equivalent, the North Face Stormbreak 2. This one comes in at 6 pounds, but it doesn't have the hotel feature. And I got to tell you, that hotel area where you can put all your packs and stuff so they're not in the tent with you, but they can stay out of the rain. Very important to have that. And especially because you can put your shoes out there. You can kick all the dirt off your shoes. You don't ever in your shoes and everything like that, and your boots, whatever, are not going to get sopping wet overnight. Because even if it's not raining, oftentimes there's a ton of dew in the morning, which means everything outside is going to be wet. If you have that little hotel area, hold on, let me show you what I'm talking about here. Here's the image. Add source. Oh my God, we have a guest. We have a guest caller. It's Witchy Cat. What's up, Witchy?
I'm not a guest. Oh.
You're a special guest.
I'm special anyway.
Are you special? Are you feeling special? So this tent right here, like I said, $250. I understand is expensive. I've had my Big Agnes tent for here's what's fucked. I think I've had it for 9 years now. I think, and there's nothing wrong with it. None of the seams have ripped. Nothing's fucked up on it. We just clean it off, put the poles back. They're good to go, and it's super lightweight. But this little hotel area is what they call this. Or I guess they're calling it a vestibule on this. I don't know. Everyone calls this a little hotel. And this zips up, and you can put your packs in here. You can put your boots in here. You can put something to make sure you knock off all your dirt, all your dirty laundry and stuff. You can put it out here, and it's not going to get sopping wet overnight. Big deal. So,
an angsty 5-year-old?
What's that?
Can you put an angsty 5-year-old in it?
Nah, no, not in there. Mine has a much smaller hotel. Realistically, this is like the tent that we should have taken, which is a 3-person. The one I have is a 2-person with a not so much of a hotel, but a more of a rain sleeve side thing that is great for 2 people. It's not good for add in a 5-year-old. Which, you know, Vicky and I even laid the tent out, and then we were like, yeah, this is big enough. We'll be fine. Like, before we left. We even did the, like, is this tent big enough thing, right? And we were like, yeah, we're going to be fine. It was not fine. It was not enough space for the insane child to be in there with us like a whirling dervish of baby rage.
When you have labeled your child as the Tasmanian devil, a 2-person tent is not maybe the best choice.
Yeah. Just Bob says, I used to like these tents, but nowadays I want a tent that I can stand in with enough room for sleeping bags and a table with chairs to have breakfast indoors when it rains. I agree with that sentiment if you're car camping. So, like, car camping versus backpacking, very different. The average amount of weight that an adult man can carry is 1/3 of your body weight at maximum. What I would normally recommend people is to, like, never go over 50 pounds. unless it's something that you avidly do, and then you wouldn't be taking my advice on how much to put in your pack anyhow. But you know, the expectation is that if somebody can carry 40 pounds on their back and hike 8 to 10 miles, that's sort of what you're expected to be able to do through up and down hills and all that kind of stuff. So when it comes to weight, a lot of the hardcore guys I know even do stuff like, you know, they cut the handle off their toothbrush because that's just extra weight that they don't need. They have like a titanium spoon. Like I have a titanium spoon, which sounds like a big baller thing or whatever, but it's the lightest weight metal that they can make the spoon out of. So I don't even know how much it feels feather weight. I mean, it feels like a feather, but it's a big long handle spoon, and that's all I take in my pack. But once you start to add like, you know, extra socks, extra underwear, extra undershirt, a chair, your cooking implements, so fuel, and then plus you got to start to think about water. You know, water. Fresh water is 8 pounds per gallon. So if you have 2 gallons of water in your pack, which is not going to last you that long. If you have 2 gallons of water in your pack, that's already 16 pounds, which is starting to get to, like, if you have a 40-pound total pack, that's like getting close to half of your total weight is just carrying some water with you. Then you have all your food to carry with you, you know, various sundries, like I said, a chair, a tent, sleeping bag, pillows, you know. Then you have to bring your 10 essentials, so you'll need some rope, a flint, safety blanket, blah blah blah, all the 10 essentials. You're probably going to bring like a small axe with you, or a hatchet, or a big machete or something to like kind of chop some wood if you need to for whatever reason. But the stuff really starts to add up, and don't forget your pack weighs something also. So there's a bunch of elements that go into it, and like the reason why those tents are so expensive is like they have to be made out of like space age shit that doesn't weigh anything, and it's not going to break, and it's going to survive. So you know, it becomes expensive equipment. Like there was a point in time, I don't own any now, but you know, the type of mountaineering boots where you can put your crampons on and stuff like that, those normally cost like $500 to get a good pair. You can go to what they call either the swap meets or the garage sale, wholesale garage sale type thing. They have events where they have all like last year's gear or like slightly used gear and stuff like that, and you can find deals on it. But like my old mountaineering boots were like $500-600, like they're just not cheap. And like my old mountaineering pants were like $400, so the stuff really adds up. Cost, because they're really cutting weight. That's like the really big part, is that because you have to make stuff out of the lightest weight stuff possible, right? Space age materials that cost money. I like how the lights start to die down on my aquarium. It looks like there's algae growing in the back, but that's actually my screensaver on the other computer reflecting. How fucking stupid is that? So, I don't know. I think I bumped the mouse and it turned the screen on. Let me go sleep. Nobody told me that was happening. Sleep.
Yeah,
Sleep.
we thought you knew. We often see whatever you're looking at on one screen or another. Not well, but, you know.
No, that's the other computer.
Yeah.
You can't see it back there. You can't see it. You can't see it back there. You can see the other computer back there. You can't see this computer with all my pictures of wieners and whatnot that are on here.
Yeah, you're all about the Oscar Mayer.
Brats. Lots and lots of brats. Canvas tent with aluminum frame, 80 to 100 pounds probably. Oh, yeah. When I was a kid, my dad had a big, giant canvas tent that was an old Navy tent that he got from the Navy. It slept like 25 sailors or something. The thing was fucking huge. It was so huge. We'd set that thing up. And I'll tell you, When you set up a big Agnes, it takes about 2 minutes, something like that. It's so fast to set them up. Like it's unbelievable. It takes no time at all. When we used to set up that Navy tent, that was like an expedition of a lot of the old folks swearing and exclaiming about how they'll never set this tent up again except for until next week. And they could never really figure it out because it's just not intuitive. Whereas the Big Agnes is very, very intuitive and very easy to set up and break down. Just Bob was also saying that you guys don't have access to like camping in Europe like we do here. There are some places that you can in Europe, but it's just you don't have it to the extent that that we do in the States. The States has a lot of that. What the fuck is up with this computer? It just turned back on again. Sleep, monkey.
It's that fly.
Sleep. There. But yeah, in Europe, you guys don't really have access that we do in the States because the national parks, you can just go to anywhere that's DNR land, and you can just go there and camp out. You just have a limited amount of time that you can stay in certain areas for sure. And then some of the places that are like considered hotspots, and they know that they have to put in a lot more effort to maintain these areas, like the enchantments. I don't know. This computer's just gonna keep. I can make it sleep, and it's just gonna come back. I don't know why it keeps doing this. Sleep and stay sleeping. Okay, stay sleeping. So, they have you have your backcountry permits and stuff like that. And also, it is a safety measure. Most people don't realize that with places like going to La Push, going to Second Beach, there's a lot of people there. It's not very far to hike down. I mean, it's a mile or 2 miles, which is not very far. What the fuck? Why? Why?
I'm telling you, it's that fly.
I don't know why it's doing this, but sleep. Just stay fucking asleep. There you go. Now it went asleep, but it's probably going to turn back on.
Are you hitting the table or something? Go ahead.
Your mom's hitting the table. Oh no, see, it's going back on again. It's coming on again. Just prepare yourself. See, there it's back on again. Either way, there's a reflection of green stuff in the back of the aquarium, but the aquarium's turning off anyhow, so the lights are going down. So because you have to deal with that. But actually now when the lights go down, you can actually see in there. You notice how fucking bright those lights are when they're on full tilt. But the other safety measure for the permit, the backcountry permit, is that like, I've got 3 people, we're going on these days, and we're going to this area, right? If you never alerted any of your family members as to where you were going, like the enchantments are quite the hike. I forget how far it is. 10 miles up an area where no one is. How long is the hike to the enchantments? 18 miles, sorry. It's 18 miles in the backcountry. And you, here we go. Here's a quote. Some say the hike is very hard and others recommend it for only experienced hikers, which is essentially saying it's hard, right? Some say only experienced hikers and some say it's hard. They completed the trail in 13.5 hours with multiple stops, including a swim. Some say it took them 14 hours. Some take 16 hours. It really depends. It's 20.5 miles to get to the basically the end of it. But you got to think. So you're up you drive up a highway that's in the middle of the mountains, so you're already far from anything. Then you park your vehicle. Then you hike up 20 miles up into the wilderness, up into the mountains, right? And if you're somebody who like does this kind of shit and doesn't tell any of your friends or family or whatever what your plans are, and you know, come Tuesday you're supposed to be back at work and you're not there, and your work's like, oh, Witchy Cat's fucking irresponsible, she just didn't show up to work again, whatever.
Oh, damn it.
You know,
What's it always mean?
she must have quit. Well, because you're on the call, so I can just you can defend yourself. But like, you know, if Witchy Cat's work, your imaginary workplace, right, is like, I knew she wasn't going to show up, she must have quit, and then nobody really follows up, right? Like,
Right.
Could be a big problem. And when it comes down to like Witchy Cat's imaginary boyfriend, or I don't know. Who do we imagine? Hannibal Lecter? I don't know. Hannibal Lecter's trying to find Witchy Cat, right? And goes like, well, she hasn't shown up at her cabin. She's just been gone, you know? And he's wants to say that your liver tastes like a can of fava beans, or no, he wants to eat your liver with a can of fava beans, right? Yeah.
And a nice Chianti.
And a nice Chianti. But
Although I
then
doubt
he's
he
like,
used
but then
Chianti.
he's like, Witchy Cat's not here. What the hell? And then they go and they put out an alert that says Witchy Cat's not here. What's going on? And those systems are tied in with the permits. Does that make sense? So if the local sheriff was like, oh, file a missing persons, and they put in Witchy Cat Lecter into the computer. He's your husband now. He's your estranged husband. You took his name out of respect.
I'm getting a bug deal all the way around.
Out of respect. Hey, man, out of respect for his culinary skill, you took his name. Anyhow.
He used canned fava beans. What skill?
Hey,
Anyway, go on.
he's like a sommelier. He's like a sommelier, right? So they put in Witchy Cat Lecter into the missing persons report. It will check a bunch of registries, right? One of the registries that it will check is the backcountry permits that are filed, right? And they can go like, oh shit, we can narrow our search here a little bit, because turns out Witchy Cat went camping 4 days ago and hasn't returned from the camping trip. Well, now we can send some search and rescue up to that area and see if we can't locate where they're at, right? Whereas, like, if you maybe Witchy Cat just told their family, like, I'm going camping for a couple days, I'll see you when you get back. So, like, one of the things when you're doing mountaineering and backcountry, like the training courses, one of the things that they're always going to tell you to do is somebody that's not going on the trip, that is responsible, needs to know your itinerary, right? We're leaving on this day. We're going to this location. We're going to be back. We're coming back on this day, so that they can go, oh shit, they weren't back yesterday like they said they were going to be. Let me see if I can't contact them. I'm calling their cell phone. They're not answering. I'm calling Hannibal's cell phone. He's not answering either. Like, neither of them are answering their phones. So, all right, well, we have to figure out what to do. And that will most likely be sending out search and rescue to an area or whatever to find you. But if they don't know where they're going, they'll be like, we can't go because we don't know where we're going. Big Agnes sounds like the blown up doll behind AC/DC during live shows playing a whole lot of Rosie. Could be true. I would be more inclined to go see the AC/DC cover band. What's the Hell's Bells?
The
It's like
all-chick
this.
version.
They're females.
Yes,
They're
they
all
are.
chicks. You'll probably see some nudity from the guitar player. And they're as good as AC/DC live.
Yep.
And they're females. And you won't have to see a blow-up doll. You can see an actual lady. You're not going to see the lead singer do any nudist stuff, but the guitar player is known to do some wild, scantily clad, extremely scantily clad. I saw her once in nothing but a G-string bottom and some heels. That's all she was wearing. So, you know, good times. Good times were had by all. AC/DC and boobies, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
I wonder if I just keep putting this computer to sleep forever. We're going button. Fuck you. Did it just turn back on?
Yep.
Yep. It's just going off because it's starting to drive me nuts. I'm just turning that computer off. It won't allow itself to be in sleep mode. I don't know why. Probably something dramatically wrong with it. We'll find out when I try to edit something. But like I said, I did shoot some LaPush video, and my intention was to update my video software because I have to pay fucking $300 to get the new version of my editing video software, which is supposedly supposed to really streamline video processing, the video editing process. There we go. It's supposed to streamline the video editing process quite a bit. So I'm going to try it out and see how it works on either computer. That was the plan for last night, was that's what I was going to do because the girls were going to be super tired. And I was just going to be like, all right, I'm going to be here tinkering away with this new editing software on Sunday and planned to edit the LaPush video so that I could put it out and make fun of LaPush for being so wet and cold and ridiculous during the middle of the summer when it should be anything but.
Yeah.
It should have been anything but, at least just for the day that we were there.
Right.
So, yeah, you know, it is what it is. But I couldn't do that because Biddy died. So, fucking bummer, dude.
It is. And it's one of those things where you just never know. You know. You can say I'm sorry so many times and then you're like, all right, me in the crowd. But I understand.
I mean, it's the problem is that, like, people don't know what to say, right? Like, that's the thing. Is like, people just don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. They don't know what's going on. And I have, like, zero expectation for anybody to know what to say or what to do or anything like that. Like, I just lean on the fact that, like, nowadays I have pretty healthy ability to deal with grieving, you know? Like, I'm not going to go do a whole bunch of heroin, you know? Like, I'm not going to go do that.
We appreciate that.
You know? I'm not going to go shotgun, like, a couple of fifths of whiskey and get in a fight with a traffic cop. You know, I'm not going to do that. That's not going to happen. You know?
That's good.
And then cry afterwards that, like, my friend died, and, like, you're going to jail, bitch. You know? So I have, like, pretty healthy mechanisms now to deal with that stuff, and you know, healthy avenues to deal with it. So yeah, I mean, it'll be okay. And that's the thing is, like, people don't know what to say. You know, people don't. Yeah. You know, and it's and by the way, like, I have not to you know, accidentally involve you in what would likely be a pretty serious conversation for most people. The fact that people don't really know how to deal with death, we don't know what to do about it. We don't know what to say about it. We don't know what's going on. Is yet another reason why religions are 100% full of shit. Yep. You know, if we're talking about, like, the Christian religion, it's like, well, your dad died. Well, he went to heaven, right? Shouldn't you be fucking stoked for him? like, no, I feel so sad and I've lost them and da 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 and this and that and the other thing. And it's like, then I don't believe you actually believe in your weird religion, right? Like,
Right.
I don't think that you actually believe in your
Yeah, that
your
always.
Muslim weirdness. I don't think you actually believe
Right.
in this nonsense that you claim goes all the way to your core and into your heart, that like,
Yeah.
I don't think that you actually believe that, because you're going to cry, you're going to sob, you're going to always be missing that person or the animal or whatever. You're always going to be missing them. There's never a return to them. And the reason for that is we know fundamentally that there isn't a return to them, right? We know that deep down, all the way in your actual core, you know that when your beloved father breathes their last breath, like, that's it. Like, you're done. You're donezo. And I think that we all honestly, in that darkest place inside of us that we just rarely ever crack open and peer in there and wonder what the hell's going on, we know that when those things die, they're gone forever, right? And that's yet another reason why I would appeal to the fact that, like, these bullshit religions that are extracting money, right, at um, at a rate
Ridiculous.
at a rate
Like,
that is unfathomable, right? Um, Along with the corporations that are going hand in hand with them, extracting money from people, um, is abysmal, right? It's completely abysmal, and it also is, to me, like a real point towards, like, you even know that Jesus isn't real, right? Like, you know that that isn't real. Otherwise, when your parents or your child or whoever would die, you would just be completely ambivalent to it. You'd be like, oh, that's fine. I'll see them in 40 years when I die. And it would not bother you at all. It wouldn't bother you for a
you
second.
might be sad that you're not going to see
No,
them again anytime
no,
soon,
you
but
wouldn't.
not in
No,
the
you wouldn't.
greater scheme of.
No,
Oh,
you wouldn't, because
all right.
the exchange there is I wait 40 years for an eternity in heaven, right?
Okay. Right.
So would you cry that they had to wait 40 years?
No.
No, because that time
But
is
then they're
irrelevant.
already
Because
at the amusement park ride.
yeah, and time is irrelevant to them, right? Because they're eternity in heaven, right? So time to them doesn't even fucking mean anything anymore. So you wouldn't cry for them waiting for you. Would you cry for you waiting to go back to them? Like, you'd have an eternity to look forward to. You'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna meet up with Sharon whenever I pass away." Okay, fuck it. Like, who cares? I'm gonna go skydiving until then, or whatever.
Right.
And like, you wouldn't care. You'd just be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go party and do whatever, and then I'll be dead." Right? Like, why would you ever work for your own life, for the benefit of your own life, for the benefit
Right.
of your family? Why would you ever do any work here? Right? Which is ultimately, like, one of the big reasons why I have a lot of problem with religions, because the people running them are not only often found to be taking advantage of young people in ways that you know what I'm talking about. They're also taking advantage of adults in ways that you know I'm talking about. And they're
Well,
extracting wealth. They're extracting wealth to expand their power in order to coddle humans, right? So that they're stuck giving their money to these people, right?
it's the age that sends the. I send $5 every check, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Jesus really needs your money, right? Like, Jesus really needs your money. That's very important for a being that's supposedly eternal, lives forever, doesn't even live forever, just is forever, right?
Right.
Has no need for
And doesn't
U.S.
have a bank
currency.
account.
What's that?
Yeah. I said, and doesn't have a bank account.
Doesn't even have a bank account. Doesn't even care that money exists or not, right? Supposedly.
Was pretty pissy with the whole money aspect of things, as
Yeah,
I
that
recall.
you aren't even supposed to keep all the money you make. You're supposed to just
Right.
give it away to the poor, right? Like you won't even get the eternal heaven if you're collecting all the money, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that is just one of those things. It's like it is another one of those like fundamental things that people are definitely going to avoid thinking about on a daily basis. It's not something that they're going to sit and conjure deeply and really stew about. You know, when your uncle tragically died in a car accident, even explaining what happened, it's a tragedy that a 42-year-old man died in a car crash, right? Like, it's already there. You already understand. It's a tragedy. It's described as a tragedy. And you go, why is it described as a tragedy? Because they lost out on a potential 40 more years of life, right? On this place that we live now, and we know we live here, right?
Yep.
But you know, if you pray to Jesus, it really lets you off the hook for
I always hate these.
no, it really lets you off the hook for pulling 10 million barrels of black oil, of crude oil out of the ground every day for the corporation that you run, right? That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter anymore because like I'm a good church guy.
Or ruining the water that people have to drink, or
Right. You know,
God.
running your slave labor camp in Bangladesh because it's been outlawed in the U.S. only to a degree. You know, because you don't want to. Because what's that?
I was to say here it's indentured. It's not full on slave. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no. The slave labor has only been outlawed for corporations to do. Right. The government can still do that in the form of, we put people in prison, and it's still part of the 13th Amendment that you can allow slave labor for punishment for crimes. But in Bangladesh, there's actually a whole bunch of rioting right now because they are actual slave labor there, and they're finally getting fed up with the American-style corporations running, you know, slave labor shops, sweatshops and stuff there. They're finally a lot of rioting and whatnot in the streets and whatnot if you're hip to the world news. But yeah.
I had not yet picked up
But
on that one.
but no, those leaders of those companies, you know, because they're religious, it allows them to do that. It'll be okay that they do that. They buy their goods and they buy their goods from essential slave factories in China, Bangladesh, Thailand. Not so much Vietnam anymore. Vietnam had an uprising again, and they're not allowed. But you know, all those countries where you import all of these plastic pieces of shit and these weird cheap shirts and stuff like that. You know, but because you go to church. But because you go to church, you must be a good guy. Or you just go on the internet and act like you just pantomime about how you're a good guy. You just act like somebody who's a good guy on TV.
Right? I'm not a good guy, but I play one on TV.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, then you get to sign your name to this big crazy document to help rule the United States.
Right. Zipgun has to run for a bit. Might be back before the live stream is over. Well, I'm back on the baby duty, so the live stream will be over fairly soon because, and we didn't get any super chats or anything today. Probably because people are like, "Oh fuck, this guy's depressed."
Or we're all just broke. I wanted to.
Well, that's the thing. People have sent me emails. They're like, "How can I get you to make more content?" And I'm like, I feel like responding to it is like one of those really weird moments of where it's like I can only respond in a way that all you do is just read it out loud and shift your tone a little bit, and it's like this guy's being a total fucking cunt, right? Like, you know, if you send me money, I could make stuff, you know, and it's like, but that's how it works. Like with my contracting business, is like people will be like, can you come over and fix my house? How can I get you to do that? Like, I literally had somebody ask me that a while ago, and I was like, you can give me money, and you pay me money, and I'll come over to fix shit at your house. Like, that's how that works, you know? I don't know. Yeah, so it is what it is, but yeah, it has been like it's been since Friday. It's been just like, what the fuck? A lot of gut punches, and can't believe I fucking chipped the shit out of my tooth. I can't preface enough how much I chipped the shit out of my
that's crazy.
Out of my tooth. But this gets me closer and closer to having a big platinum tooth in the front. I do one of these days. I'm gonna end up with a pirate tooth in the front.
Big shiny tooth.
Big shiny fucking gold tooth. I don't want to go gold. I want to go the silver route. I feel like, yeah, well, because you know the rule in electrical work, right?
No, not as it applies to teeth. Please share.
Oh, I'll explain.
All right, I knew you would.
Let me see if I can't find.
Going to show us a little conductivity.
We're gonna show and tell. Hold on. Hold on.
All right.
20 seconds.
40 seconds. Okay. 38. 37. Ooh, for a titanium tooth to cut weight. There you go. I feel like this is going to turn into an electrical experiment that's going to go awry, but I could be wrong.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, welcome back.
So if you look at the side of an electrical outlet, right? So here's an electrical outlet that goes in your wall. These screws right here are silver. These screws right here are silver on this side. And then on the other side, they're gold.
There you go. Okay.
They're brass colored, but they're gold and silver, right?
Right.
Well, the black wire goes to the gold terminal because black people like gold. And the white wire goes to the silver terminal because white people like silver.
Wow, that is an excellent description. All right, then.
And it has a lot more to do with just skin tone than anything. It's like silver looks kind of better on white people and gold looks kind of better on black people. It's just how it goes.
Okay.
You know? That's how it goes. Not that white people can't wear gold.
But I didn't realize that it also applied to gold and silver.
Not that white people can't wear gold. They can. And not that black people can't wear silver. They can. It's just they seem to prefer, you know.
All right,
It's
what about white gold?
Skin tone thing, you know. I guess you could wear white gold. Do they make silver that's yellow? I don't know. That'd probably just be impure silver, right?
Nah, I would just or tarnish. Yeah. Okay. Good. There wasn't any electrocution actually involved.
Oh no, I wouldn't actually electrocute myself. Well, not today. Maybe tomorrow.
Well, not intentionally.
Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow we'll try that out for size.
Be sure to live stream that.
Oh yeah, it'll be a live event where I just electrocute my balls. So I've put a pond plant in my drain bin to use some of the nitrates and stuff to grow plants. Your drain bin. I'm confused. Alyssa, I read your comment. Color me confused. I'm confused boy. To be depressed is also a way. We're all naturalists in here. No worries. Yeah, I mean, that's the reality. I mean, so hold on. The founding fathers religious. What were they? I was trying to remember what they were. They were deists. That's right. Deism. Can I look up deism? Hold on, here we go. Yeah. Deism is a philosophical and theological position that is based on reason and observation of the natural world rather than revelation or scripture. Deists believe in a higher power or a supreme being who created the universe and set it in motion according to the laws of physics, similar to a clock. They also believe that God left the world to operate under these natural laws, and that reason can be used to find evidence of God in nature. Deists reject revelation as a source of religious evidence and do not follow the teachings of any specific religion. So, deists, naturalists, pretty much hand in hand, almost the exact same thing. And I put myself in that space. Naturalist, deist, you know, I don't normally like put a name to it or whatever. That's realistically where I fall into place. Nowadays, most people will call it like scientism or something like that. That we just believe in the laws of physics, and that like when referring to a higher power, or if I say, God damn it, right? It's like, I understand that the sun is a much longer living entity within the universe that we live in, right? The sun lives for so long, is so massive and so complex that we generally don't understand it. And we don't understand what it's doing, why it's doing, you know. Its life is like 4 billion years or some shit, right? If the sun was trying to communicate with a creature like me, that the best case scenario is going to live to be 100 years, in a 4 billion year lifespan, that creature probably can't even like comprehend trying to say something 100 years, right? Like, but that essentially is like where the foundation of my belief is that like there are obviously larger powers that I will never be able to really affect or effect one way or the other. If I threw myself into the sun, it wouldn't change the sun's trajectory at all, even remotely, right? And so like that's the way that I sort of represent God in my mind, is that like gravity exists, right? Why doesn't really matter to me. How does kind of matter to me. And that the fact that it does exist matters to me. But to sit around and believe that there's some kind of spaghetti monster in the sky sending down decrees on fucking tablets to people that just decide to rewrite them whenever they felt like it, because the cameras didn't exist and the computers didn't exist, and the fact that somebody could have completely altered and changed the text to make it easier for them to like molest children 100 years ago, or 200 years ago or whatever, and cameras didn't exist to be like, here's the guy changing the thing, right?
Right.
Like all that shit is irrelevant. It's like, oh, yeah, all these people have believed this goofy bullshit that somebody dreamt up in a fever dream in a barn in the Middle East somewhere at some point, and then it's been completely changed and altered over the 1,000 years that people have been altering it, editing it, changing it, cutting parts out of it, putting stuff in it, doing whatever. Like, yeah, there's some fucking weird book that you people think is somehow important, other than it just being an old book. Okay. I mean, fucking Moby Dick is an old book, right? Is it?
Right.
Is it God's word? Like War and Peace. When was War and Peace?
Oh God.
Writ.
Dostoevsky, I want to say 1910.
Yeah.
Might have been older than that.
I'm trying to think of an old book. Oh, 1865. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Way older than that.
Yeah. So it was published when the Civil War was happening, right? Which like people would be like, wait, like, oh yeah,
Right.
That's recent history, right? So let's think. What books were
Canterbury Tales. There
in
you go.
1200, in the 1200s? Let's go 1200 to 1450. Here we go.
I don't know. Okay.
The Epic of Gilgamesh was older than the Bible.
Yes.
Here we go. Sumerian text,
Beowulf.
2600 BC.
There you go.
The Egyptian Diary of Merer, 2500 BC. Let's go right around. Oh, we gotta get past the Iron Age here at least.
Come on.
So the 8th century was the Trojan War cycle. The Sanskrit, all the Sanskrit shit. Akkadian, all that stuff. 7th century, more Sanskrit, more Greek stuff. Let's see if something that is current. Oh, we gotta get out of the BC at least, right? Let's go 1st century BC. Here we go. Xiao Yuan, the Garden of Talks. That book still exists. That was written.
Sun Tzu?
What's that?
Said what year was Sun Tzu?
I don't know yet. I haven't run into Sun Tzu yet. The Art of War. I don't know. We could look it up though. Sun TSU Art of War. When was the Art of War written? 5th century BC. So that's like 500 years before, 400 years before the air quote Jesus guy, right? Oh yeah, I read the Art of War when I was in like a teenager or whatever, because it was like, you know, it was like edgelord shit back then of like, I got to learn the art of war. So I, you know, iron sharpens iron. Oh, I owned multiple copies of the Artist Cookbook or the Anarchist Cookbook. Yeah. I actually owned one that I found in a library that was an old a typewriter copy. Somebody had made a typewriter copy in like, I don't know, the 70s or something. I don't know when. But it was an actual typewriter copy that somebody had made of it and then put it in a manila folder. And when I was going through the public library bullshit area, if you know what I'm talking about, the back room nonsense, when you're like, you look up with the, what was that old thing?
Library.
What
With
was
the
that
Dewey
old?
Decimal System, the card catalog.
No. Like, yeah, the Dewey Decimal System was the regular library part, but you had to go through the you put in the film, the microfilm. What the fuck was that? Yeah, the microfilm thing.
It's called a microfiche. F-I-C-H-E.
At the library.
Yep.
Yeah, microfilm and microfiche. This thing, when I was looking through this thing, it sent me to a back room of bullshit. And it was just like all the books in the back room. So it was like the shelves that are packed super tight, just full of books and boxes of books and shit like that. Well, I went back there, and in one of them, I found a manila folder that had the Anarchist Cookbook written that was like a typewriter version, like somebody had typed out on a typewriter. And it didn't have a tag or anything on it, so I just put it in another book and then checked out the other book, and I was like, that's mine now, and I kept it. Because I was a fucking hoodlum, and I wanted to make, you know, fun explosions out of stuff I could buy at the hardware store.
Didn't it come with every mohawk given to 16 through 18-year-olds and between 1978 and 82?
Probably.
Here's your free haircut, or your haircut and your free copy of the Anarchist Cookbook.
Provably, yeah. So let's say we go even kind of modern time. 6th century.
Oh, God. Okay. What did the Medicis write?
Oh,
what was the...
6th century was the Ballad of Mulan.
Okay. What was the name of that stupid book?
The Consolation of The Consolation of Philosophy, often titled The Consolation of Philosophy or simple Consolation, is a philosophical work by the Roman philosopher Boethius, written in 523. I still don't know how to say that guy's name right, but I read this a long time ago. I probably remember zero. Well, I probably remember some of it, but I would have to start skimming it.
Who are some of, let's see,
But yeah, my point is that like just because there's an old book does not mean that it's suddenly, the word of God. It's just fucking wild. That was my whole point. So I've put a pond. Initially, I've tried to have it on my pond, but the raccoons keep tearing it up. I'll send a picture to the Discord. Become a member today to see the picture. That's right. If you become a member or a patron or a member on YouTube, you get access to our Discord, and you can come in there and post pictures about whatever pond plants you got going on. I don't know what. Oh, I used the naturalist without any link to any belief. Dang, they are using nature too. Actually, deists just don't believe in any organized religion at all. It's more just the acceptance that there is something more powerful than you that's sort of driving the universe. And like I said, it could be something as obscure as just gravity, right? Like you just believe that like, well, gravity is functioning, and so obviously there must be some kind of power sort of pushing these celestial planets and the bodies around, and things are just happening, and essentially like as scientific information is discovered, and then eventually you have a theory that theory will actually confirm or deny what natural like belief that you would have in something, right? And the sort of idea behind that is that like the theory of relativity is that like, well, we understand how gravity works and whatnot, but we have not theories, but what do you call them? Hypothesis that there may be like other ways to manipulate it or whatnot, which may or may not either open up more information or ultimately that like, oh, the theory actually is 100% accurate. Right. And that the universe is just so expansive that like we may or may not like ever understand it at all,
Mikim, I don't think we read more about religion outside of how it applies to wars, as in the Crusades, etc., in school, because although that's changing as people are trying to fight to bring religion into schools more,
but we're all fighting to keep it out.
Yeah.
It doesn't belong.
No.
And I wish we would get... I personally, and I've always believed this since probably I was like in the 6th grade, I think, that like all of the Cold War bullshit should be stricken from our schools. We should not give the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning every day. It's fucking absurd to do that.
We certainly shouldn't give the 1954 or later version.
We should take God off of our money. It shouldn't say "In God We Trust" off of any of our money. Any of that stuff, all that Cold War bullshit that was added to the Americas should just be completely removed, and we should solidify an amendment that fully explains 100%. If it has to be 1,000 pages long, it has to be 1,000 pages long. We need an amendment that fully outlines what religions can and can't do, where religion can be applied and can't be applied, and we should continue to have a secular society that is run by sane-thinking people that can make educated decisions towards things. And currently, right now, one of the political parties in the United States is shrieking and pissing their pants because one of the vice presidential candidates put tampons in bathrooms for free for kids, and that one of the bathrooms happened to be the boys' bathroom. And I know somebody had asked me about it last week. Since then, I've looked up and I read the statute more than I had read it before. First piece of context that people should understand is that visiting schools, when there is a sporting event, would come to the school, the boys' locker room would become available to the females, and the female locker room would become available to the male opposing teams to come play fucking sports. Okay, so you either got to get rid of sports or get rid of the tampons in the bathrooms. It makes zero sense to put the tampons available for opposing teams or whatever in a different area, like what, the fucking food court, in the principal's office. Where do you expect that they should be put? Like outside on the ground? I don't know, but they put the exact same facilities available as a mirrored image, so that if there happens to be a need, it would be filled and not become implementable thing every other week whenever fucking track and field was happening or whatever. Also, on top of it, it does explain that there might be a boy attending a school where a close relative to him, maybe his sister, may or may not need to get access to something like tampons, and the brother might be able to acquire them for her, right? And so why would we suddenly restrict access to something that is A, not dangerous to kids? I don't know of any real malicious intent other than basic pranks that tampons would provide young boys to just prank each other with. I don't believe that there's any harmful health behavior that they could do to themselves, realistically. What's that?
I was joking. Go on.
I mean, even if they put them in their ass or whatever, it's not going to cause a health problem for them. So, yeah, I'm saying like it doesn't impose like a health risk for them or anything like that. So, yeah, and you know, currently we have all these fucking weirdos freaking out about there are tampons in boys' rooms. And, you know, to me, this is my belief that we're not only the parents of all of these children in our community, we're also the stewards to them. So we should be, you know, treating them the same way that we're treating our animals. As earlier in the stream here, I talked about being the steward of your animal, is that we would want to be like, when it comes to educators and a school where kids are going to, you know, 6, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, to have access to certain healthcare things that are required. And as in fact, a friend of mine shared a meme that explained it, that like, and I think I have it saved here on my phone, so I don't want to misquote it because it was just that good. It says, unless you've bled all over your seat in 7th grade social studies, I don't want to hear about your issues with free tampons. Right? And that pretty much sums it up right there. Like, any of these fucking bitch boy dudes that you see that are 50 years old, overweight, wearing their fucking MAGA hat, screeching in Alabama about whatever the fucking bullshit that they've decided to cry and piss their little fucking tidy whities over, at least take a minute to just educate them or figure out how to just shut them the fuck up and get them from affecting anything out of your daily fucking routine, because it's a waste of air on those idiots. But if you can educate the people that are also listening to them in some way, I fully encourage people to do that. Like, I don't know, leave a comment on how fucking ridiculous they are. Just and Bob says, I'm a Christian, but for me, it's a personal belief that has no place in law or politics apart from the idea that all people should be free to choose whatever they believe or not. Yes, I fully do not believe that there should be any impingement at any point in time on anybody's belief from a government standpoint, right? But the moment that those churches get into politics, they should be taxed until they go out of business, essentially, right? They should be taxed retroactively for all of the years that they didn't pay tax, right? So if this church has been there for 80 years and they suddenly want to come out and have Marjorie Taylor Greene give political fucking speeches to their parishioners while they extract money from them, they should be forced to pay taxes for all 80 years that they've been there, retroactively. And if it puts them out of business, fucking good. Okay? If they are found to be criminal in any nature, that entire church should be shut down. So if there is a fucking priest that is molesting kids, or a monk that is molesting kids, or a, I don't know, preacher that is having sex with a 14-year-old girl that goes to his church, and then they get married, so everyone says it's okay, that church should be shut down permanently and should not exist anymore. Yeah, I mean, I think it should be.
Or whatever.
What's that?
Say, or financial crimes, or how about the preacher who claimed that his multi-million dollars worth of jewels were stolen while he was in church?
Oh, right.
Maybe we should
Yeah.
have him pay the cop that investigated all their time, as well as,
Right.
From ill-gotten gains being, never mind, sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, yeah, you should be allowed and free to do things, but it shouldn't be, your actions shouldn't exist in a void without consequences, right? Like, there should be much harsher consequences for misbehaving churches in the United States. I don't know what it's like in Europe as far as that stuff goes. I don't know what the laws are. I don't know what the particulars are. I don't know what the particulars are in Thailand. Recently, there was an uprising in Thailand of people that were just trying to pass a law that would allow you to criticize the king, and the entire portion of the government has been essentially outlawed and jailed. So yes, there are much bigger issues in other countries as far as those things go, and I'm not familiar with the inner workings of every country out there in the world. I'm not even familiar with every single inner working thing in the United States where I live and where I'm like sort of profoundly engaged with trying to figure out like what the fuck is going on here. So I don't know what's going on in Europe, and I wouldn't really claim to know that much. I would say in the United States, these churches have been granted religious and financial freedoms beyond the pale. And just the evidence of like how many churches exist now versus the Supreme Court ruling that happened, I believe, in 1918, I think. I don't know. I might be wrong on I might be a little off on my dates. I can look it up and we could talk about it in Discord later if people need to know. But there used to only be like 5,000 churches in the entirety of the United States. And now there's over 500,000 of them in the United States, which is fucking absurd. And we don't need all of these churches. It's fucking crazy. So yeah, but total side tangent. But you know, when people or animals close to me die, I end up thinking more and more about this kind of stuff, and it infuriates me just how much they have taken advantage and just wildly like bastardized like the human thought process from a conscious thought into a, well, anytime I do it, it's because of Jesus, and whenever you do it, it's because you're evil and you should go to hell or whatever. So yeah, it's just fucking crazy. But either way, I got to go pick up my daughter from non-religious daycare, secular daycare. But Witchy Cat, thanks for coming out. I will probably call you later tonight, and we'll work out some inner workings of what my current plan is, and then we can start ironing that out. But thanks for calling in, and
My
everybody,
pleasure, as always.
thanks for hitting the like button. And we got 80,000 new subscribers today. That's fucking wild, dude. But no super chats, no new members, and I didn't gift any members because I didn't want to today. It felt like too much of a downer stream to be like, get the fucking memberships, you know. So we'll do that next week, and we'll see how many we have next week. I don't want to update the numbers. Although I think Patreon is up or something. I don't know. Whatever. Either way, bye-bye. Did I push the button? Oh, fuck. Did I push the button?